Hello, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And welcome back. We are here with Professor Spira, and we're getting into the second part of this series about healing yourself with a mucus-free diet. And we're going to get deep into it, and I'm going to ask him some questions and just kind of discuss a lot of things that I felt, and that maybe you will first, how to get into it, how to start the whole process, and then what are some of the things you might be experiencing with it. And, I just wanted to say, I said on the last broadcast, how much better I feel. And it is challenging. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like everything in life, you have to do it. You have to discipline yourself. You have to make the commitment. But once you do, it can really turn your life around, and especially, your health, because most all of dis-ease is based on, of course, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, but it starts with what you're putting in your body. As Hippocrates said, let thy food be your medicine. Okay. So without further ado, here we have Professor Spira again, and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And so do you just want to kind of give us a little overall for some people that might just be tuning in for the first time about the diet and what it does for you, and how to start?
Yeah, so the mucusless diet healing system is a transitional system that helps you transform your body, mind, and spirit through diet, fasting, physical activity, putting all of these things together in a certain way so that you change your physiology on a fundamental level. So, what are mucus forming foods? So, you'll hear me sometimes say pus and mucus forming foods. Pus forming foods denote animal products. And we're talking about the very viscous, concentrated form of slime that dead animal flesh and things like dairy and just rotten foods degrade down into this really viscous slime. And we call that pus. Then mucus is going to be your vegetable-based or plant-based mucuses. So things like the white potatoes are mucus forming, and avocados, which I know now that doesn't mean you can't use them for transition, but fundamentally, one thing you can observe is anytime you're eating a lot of mucus forming foods, when you go to the bathroom, you might notice that you have to wipe. What are you wiping? You're wiping the slimy residue of these foods, because when you do eat 100% mucus free for a period of time, you start to notice like, oh, I don't really have to wipe. There's no residue there when you've cleaned yourself out to a certain level. So mucus diet healing system. It is a rediscovery of humans' natural diet, how we're actually supposed to eat, how we're supposed to live, and it provides insight into why there's so much suffering when we don't abide by these natural laws.
Okay, thank you. That's really wonderful. So, okay, so well, you really have to look at, your shit. I mean, it's really fundamental. So I thought I'd keep this, the second part, because, it's key. And let's just tackle it right there, as a proper, lady. But, throw that out, because sometimes that's like gets in your way, because, what comes out of you, and the difficulty. And so many people are having so much problems, just constipation and gas and bloating and just the swollen. I'll just say it. I had my intestines were like swollen, and every time I ate, my stomach would start to hurt when it started to move out of my stomach, and then it got to the point where something I'd never had before, but it was like stuff was like sliding out, in different, like glops, it was just so strange. And I know, I think now we have to be ever so vigilant, because even here in Italy, where, in Sicily, I live here because there's produce fresh every season. I mean, right now it's olive, harvest time, and there's always zucchini and eggplant and all this kind of wonderful fruits. And so I thought, wow, I'm going to be so healthy here. But then I looked around; a lot of people were dying, at early ages. And of course, there's pasta, pizza, and pastries. But now they're even starting gluten-free, bakeries here because the glycemics. So it's just our environment's so much more toxic now. A lot of people are experiencing that, just mucus like sliding out of your intestines, when you're going to the bathroom. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure, that's one of my favorite topics. So I'll warn the folks that can see this. I guess we'll have to describe this. So you were talking about mucoid plaque earlier. So I always have pictures of mucoid plaque on hand. So this is the stuff that's inside of the body that's causing so much distress and bloating and pain, and just you can't expect to feel great when you have pounds and pounds of this slimy, uneliminated, fetid, nasty residues. Worms are in there. You got your tapeworms and all your parasites, all this stuff.
Roundworms, pinworms, everything.
Exactly.
And some of it's like black. You said there's like tar.
The black tar type of slime stuff. Yeah, black tar, sludge, all different forms of slime and mucus. And these things, over time, when you're eating mucus-forming foods, since childhood, you have been cultivating and developing this lining of slime that is never eliminated. If you don't do what we're talking about, or you don't know anything about detox, this stuff just builds up over time, and it causes all manner of constipation and disease. So, Arnold Ehret, at the very beginning of the Mucusless Diet healing system, he says, all disease, no matter what name it is known by medical science, is constipation, a clogging up of the entire pipe system of the human body. We're not just talking about bowel constipation, but cellular constipation. So most people that do not know this, they are cellularly constipated from head to toe. So that means your blood gets filthy, and wouldn't you think, if you have this in the intestines, that's systemically going to make your body filthier and filthier? We have to look at the lymphatic system and the kind of stagnation. There's a relationship between the blood and the lymph that most people don't really understand. But when you are constipated, when you have all of this toxic waste in your body, your lymph system can't flow properly. It's going to slow down and get stagnant, and it's acid, it's acidic. And so now we're going to start to see damaged cells, that they like to use the word cancer for these things. Mm-hmm. And it's this downward spiral from a physical standpoint.
And then the liver and the gallbladder, everyone's getting their gallbladder taken, and the pancreas. Yes, huge. Yeah. So
and
that's when you're like on death row.
Yeah. Kidneys, if the kidneys aren't filtering, the organs of elimination. And then you have a lot of people want to blame, when they start having conversations about imbalances, and they always want to blame something on this concept of nutrition. And this is why we say that's a false concept. It's a problematic, paradoxical concept to think, because of like, oh, you're deficient, you're low in something, so let's give you this synthetic version of this thing and prop you up. What we found is the majority of people's endocrine systems are shot because of the way we live, because we're not designed to live with airplanes and helicopters and all of this, TVs and cell phones. So that's messing up our nervous system and all the stuff that you talk about too. Because I don't even get into all that stuff, because just without the nefarious part, just our environment, it taxes our adrenal glands. And you end up at a point where the way we live and eat, because you eat all this high protein and the meat and all that stuff, that's taxing your adrenal gland. People have a compromised thyroids, and they're like, oh, I'm fatigued, I can't get up. So instead of trying to, what they want to do in the medical world is let's feed it with stuff, with whatever. Let's supplement and get your vitamins and this and that. And it kind of, what we found is if you actually heal the endocrine system, then you will heal your whole body, that you without any supplementation, without that whole concept. So,
I wanted to ask also about the mental aspect, because I noticed you had a video on that what your gut and everything is affecting, many kinds of mental illnesses that the psychiatrists are giving you more, toxic drugs to like balance your moods, and, Xanax and Depakote, and, I mean, I can go on and on.
And those are some of the worst medications on the planet. Like just the things that the psychiatrists give to people. It's really sad to me. It's because that stuff is not necessary, and that can really put you. It's hard to detox that stuff out, and it can be hard to it's possible, but it can be. There's a lot of work that has to be done to rewire your brain after they've hit you with that stuff. But yeah, the body. If you look at the intestines. And look at the brain. It's like there's a relationship there. There's something that they don't look at it like that. But most people's decisions, they're making decisions based on the brain in their stomach region, their intestines.
Well, I've actually seen that, the parasites, because, it's full of parasites, all that mucoid plaque, it's a breeding ground, and they can actually attach themselves to the vagus nerve and like send signals like, eat that, sugar donut now, we need it. They're like controlling, your cravings, they're sending messages, feed us.
Yeah. I mean, we like to say the most revolutionary thing that you can do is learn how to control what you put into your body. Because when you do that, then you have the autonomy. You take back control. When you don't, it's like you said, all the little critters, you're open to anything. You're open. You're weak enough. You could have entities enter you and take over. You can have the TV take you over. Like you are an open vessel to be dominated and controlled when you're not clean. Exactly. So
yes,
if you want to be immune, if you want to have total autonomy and freedom, and I've coined the term physiological freedom, physiological liberation, that this is our liberation movement. Because if we can get this together, if we can get the physical part together, it leads to the rest. Because generally, this is the part that people don't have. They'll have other pieces, and whatever they're into, their spiritual practices and their meditative practices. But when you don't have this at the foundation, those things will be compromised, and there's always going to be a limit. But once you unlock this, then it's limitless. You can go wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I just that's so powerful what he said. And I want to say it again, because we talked about it in the first episode, but everyone's doing like all these kind of activations and shielding themselves and cleaning their auras and, all that. But I mean, you're just leaving the door wide open, if you're filled full of parasites and gunk and pus and all that low frequency stuff, there's no way you're going to get up into the higher, frequencies, whatever the fifth dimension, sixth dimension, the higher dimensions, when your physical vehicle, is being commanded and being a slave to, these toxic, foods and environments. And you got to purge them. You got to detox them to be sovereign, to be God sovereign free. So thank you for saying that. Now, okay. So I just want to say, and I've been doing, I used to actually do coffee enemas all the time, but enemas are part of it, the lemon juice enemas, which I've been doing that, it actually were very painful because I had so much trouble getting all the elimination out,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
and I was surprised because I had done enemas before and I hadn't had that problem, but, so you want to talk a little bit about how that's really important and why, and what is it doing?
Yeah, the lemon juice and distilled water enemas, those are a total game changer. And that's one of the things that me and my community and Brother Air and Victor Buttram brought to the table and augmented the practice of the mucus diet. Because in the mucus diet, Arnold Ehret talks about water enemas and the importance of those. But our community started experimenting with adding lemon juice to it back in the 70s. And that's a total game changer because now you have the astringent property of the lemons. You can use limes, but they're not as potent in my opinion, but the lemons is my favorite. And that astringency, it really is a game changer because it's going into your colon. If you can just imagine all of this slime and waste and that stuff because a lot of people think that they do like a couple days of cleansing and then they're clean. No, like we have generations of filth that we have to deal with. There's generations of improper eating and the accumulation of waste that's been passed down to us. So that's why